Hi everybody, Todd Martin here. This is both lesson number 6 for the Tai Chi Yang Style 24 form, Grasp the Sparrow's Tail, and also a walking technique lesson. Because what we're going to find in Grasp the Sparrow's Tail is all of the 8 techniques of Tai Chi and all of the techniques that you use in your normal daily routine walking. Whether you're walking on flat ground, walking up or down hill, walking up or down stairs, all of the 8 movements you're going to see in Grasp the Sparrow's Tail are the precise movements you're going to do in any one of those other normal activities. And this is probably why Tai Chi has been found to be one of, if not the most effective exercise for reducing falls, improving balance, and reducing the fear of falling in elderly people. So if you're trying to work on your walking technique or your Tai Chi, I really recommend watching this video all the way to the end. I'm first going to go through a demonstration of Grasp the Sparrow's Tail in the 24 form. Then I'm going to go step by step through the movements to detail how they're done. And at the end, I'm going to show how each one of the 8 energies you're going to see in Grasp the Sparrow's Tail apply to your daily life. And practicing it in the Tai Chi form will help solidify that mind-body connection. Before I get started, go ahead and click the like button, and at the end, leave me a comment and let me know what you think. Let's go ahead and get started. There are some significant differences in the way Grasp the Sparrow's Tail is performed, depending on what school you're coming from. So during the demonstration, I'm going to demonstrate just one of these different forms. As I go through the movement by movement technique section later, I'm going to explain some of the differences. So if you see a difference in what you've been doing in your Grasp the Sparrow's Tail, wait until I do the technique step by step, and I'll probably be showing you what you're looking for. Let's begin Grasp the Sparrow's Tail at the end of Repulse Monkey. I'm going to demonstrate Grasp the Sparrow's Tail left and Grasp the Sparrow's Tail right. So that is Grasp the Sparrow's Tail. Now let's go through movement by movement, and I'll show you what's going on and how you can really practice this technique with the right core movement. We begin at the end of Repulse Monkey. We are pushing forward with the left palm. The right palm is by the lower waist. We're going to collect the weight by lifting up the left leg and beginning to drop the arms. And as the left leg continues to collect, we're going to circle the arms into a vertical ball carrying position. Right palm is facing out, left palm facing in. The toes of my left foot are touching the ground, but with no energy going into them. Then I'm going to step out onto the heel in a roughly shoulder width stance. And then I'm going to shift forward, beginning to raise the left arm with the palm facing in, the arm bowed outward, and the right palm beginning to drop. I'm going to complete the movement with this final shift, completing ward off. In ward off, you should have significant energy expanding outwards. You should feel a circular bubble of energy that would deflect anything coming in towards you. From ward off, we're going to twist the entire waist in the opposite direction, turning the palms, so the left palm is down, right palm is up, and then we are grasping the sparrow's tail and we are rolling back until your weight gets to your heel. Then we're going to begin to rotate the torso, bring the palm around in a circle, and then bring the left wrist to the right hand as we are completely sunk back on our right foot. Then we're going to press forward. The press will end here when your left knee gets directly over your left ankle. Tibia should be roughly perpendicular to the ground. Then we're going to open the arms, spreading them parallel to begin push. Then we're going to push down with the palms and then push forward. I'll show you a different variation of the push. Here I did a push down after the palms went parallel. There is also a version where after you press, open the palms downward and parallel, we're going to shift backwards, raising the heel and letting the palms and arms drop back to the chest, then push forward. That's a difference in the sequence or the energy that we're using for that pushing down technique, and I'll explain that a little later. The other variation, and the one I actually learned in the school that I went to, comes after the step out. Instead of shifting and then doing that motion where the palm comes to the hip, we are going to step out, roll up, and then shift directly into ward off in this manner prior to turning and rolling back. That's not the form I demonstrated in the beginning, and not the one that I'm going to focus on, because when you do grasp the sparrow's tail in that manner, it's missing one of the 8 energies. And I want to demonstrate all 8 of the energies in this lesson, so that's why we're going to be doing the original version that I demonstrated. Now let me break down the 8 techniques or 8 energies and what's going on with each step. We're beginning with the end of repulse monkey. We have push coming from the left leg, meaning I'm pushing back, extending my left hip while I'm turning my upper waist towards that forward foot. Meaning I'm turning clockwise with my upper waist, and I'm turning counterclockwise with the lower waist. That's what's creating this final motion. Rotation clockwise here, counterclockwise here, extension of the left hip. That's what's going on at the end of repulse monkey. Now I'm going to flex the left hip as I change my root, which is that lower waist rotation. The root is going to change from left to right, freeing up the left leg to begin to collect. So think of turning your belly button from turning to the left to turning to the right as you pick up or flex your left hip, and that's going to be the beginning of the collection to empty stance. Flex the left hip, change your root from left to right. The arms will begin to drop here as my upper waist is turning to the right. I'm going to finish the ball carrying position by turning the upper waist to the left, and that's going to finish the empty stance. Then I'm going to step out by taking the lower waist root from the right. I'm going to change the root to the left. And so now I have flexion of my left hip, and I have my root on the left, upper waist is turning to the right. Now I'm going to begin ward off by extending my right hip, and that's going to begin the motion of ward off. Remember, I have what I call torsional rotation on the left here. Clockwise rotation of the upper waist, counterclockwise rotation of the lower waist. We always have to know what direction each element of the waist is rotating in. That's the position after I step out on the heel. So all I need to do here is extend the right hip, and that's going to begin ward off. But it doesn't complete the motion. In order to complete the motion of ward off, I need to take the root from the left, where my belly button's turning to the left, and I have to change the root to the right, turning my belly button to the right, and that completes ward off. So now I have extension of my right hip, and I have clockwise rotation of the upper and lower waist, and that combined energy is what's projecting the arm outward. That's why the arm is so difficult to break inwards, because you would have to break this circular energy of the waist and the hip. Now what we're going to do is turn upper and lower waist from right to left all at the same time. This is where we grasp the sparrow's tail. This energy is not described as one of the 4 principal energies in grasp the sparrow's tail, but the energy here is going to be shoulder strike. Upper and lower waist turning away from the extending hip. Now we're going to flex the forward hip and create roll back. As I do roll back, what you want to be aware of is you're not turning your waist to the right. You're turning your waist to the left into this flexing left hip. So practice this. Flex your hip and turn your entire waist into that flexing hip and feel that motion. That is the motion of rollback. And that's what we're going to be doing from here, turning the waist into the flexing left hip. Now we're going to circle the arms first by changing the root from the left to the right. And then we're going to change the upper waist rotation from left to right to complete the connection between the arms. Now we're going to press forward by lifting forward from my right hip. So not pushing forward. Pushing forward is extension from the glutes. What we're going to do is pull forward from our hip flexors, like the psoas muscle. What the psoas muscle is going to do is pull the spine forward, the lumbar spine forward. It's pulling it forward. Since the root of the leg is on the ground, you can't flex the leg up. So it's going to pull the torso forward, and at the same time the root is tucking the pelvis, and it's going to result in a shifting of the weight. That is press. I have torsional rotation on the right. I am flexing the right hip from here. That's going to get me to the end of press. Now I'm going to change press to the beginning of push by changing hip flexion, meaning pulling forward, to hip extension, pushing backwards. That's going to cause the arms to open up. It's not the shoulders doing the motion, it's the hip that's creating the difference between this and that. Now I'm going to reverse push 2 more times. Push forward, I have extension of the right hip, torsional rotation from the core on the right. Now I'm going to push from the left hip with torsional rotation on the left. And then now I'm going to push again forward with torsional rotation on the right and extension of the right hip. That is going to complete the motion of grasp the sparrow's tail. Now I'm going to demonstrate the variation in the push where we retract the arms and explain the difference. So after we press forward and then push forward by extending our right hip, the version where I'm going to push down with the palms is going to use extension of my left hip and torsional rotation on the left. That's a push down. Instead, what we're going to do in this variation is press, and that means we're going to flex the left hip, lifting it up rather than pushing it down, as I still use torsional rotation on the left. Again, torsional rotation means I'm turning clockwise with the upper waist, counterclockwise with the lower waist. I'm going to flex the left hip, and that's going to withdraw the arms and lift the left heel. Now notice, press with the left hip flexed is the same energy we used to step out onto the heel when we did this. It's the same exact motion. But we're doing it from this position, flexing, and then now we're going to go back to a normal push, extension of the right hip and torsional rotation on the right. Now I'm going to demonstrate the pivot from grasp the sparrow's tail left to grasp the sparrow's tail right, beginning from the end of the push. So I have torsional rotation on the right, extension of my right hip. I'm going to flex my left hip, continue the waist rotation the same. It's going to allow my weight to sink back without turning. Now I'm going to turn my upper waist from left to right and extend my left hip, and that's going to produce the turn. And in my school, we learned to turn 135 degrees, so your left foot's now going to be facing 45 degrees this way. I know in other schools, the pivot may only go to 90 degrees here. Here, I'm going to demonstrate the 135 degree pivot. So the foot is going to be at that 45 degree angle when we collect into empty stance, giving us the proper bow stance positioning at the end of the motion.